truly a leader in our community. So before we get started, one thing I just want to remind everybody of our mission right here at the Chamber, and it's that we believe in contributing to the greater cause. And we believe that you're just one connection away. You're one connection away from anything that you need to do to scale your business. Also here at the Chamber this year, that we've done a really great job to really support our members and our community in its entirety by creating the State of New Mexico Small Business Center right here, where we have so many programs and resources designed to help scale your business. Whether you're looking to get into the government marketing space, we have PTAC here. If you want to look for local contracts on how to do business with the city and local state government, we have the MBDH, which stands for the Minority Business Development Agency. And then that's a partnership with the city of Albuquerque. So we have so many great things today, but as we move forward to today, I want to introduce our special guest. I'm super excited. She's a dear friend of mine, Mary Martinez. And so would y'all welcome Mary Martinez. Welcome, Mary. We're so excited to have you today.
Thanks, JP.
Well, part of, we're going to learn about you. We're going to learn what makes you tick. We're going to learn about why you are so excited about the Chamber and all the great work that you've done. Let's kick this off. COVID, we talked about, we're in a post-pandemic, we're in a new economy, and it's all about reset, recover, and rebound as we move throughout 2021. So talk about, number one, tell us about your story. Let's get in, and we just want to know about Mary, and then we're going to get into what does reset, recover, rebound mean to you? So why don't you just tell us about you and your business and kick things off?
Okay, well, I'm Mary Martinez, and I own Home Instead Senior Care here in Albuquerque. And I've been an owner for almost 20 years. Started out, in 2000 actually.
Wow.
Working for the original owner of Home Instead, and by 2002 I was the owner. So that was a huge leap for me, and it allowed me to do even more with what I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid. I've always wanted to work with seniors, so got my gerontology degree at New Mexico State, and stayed in New Mexico. I'll never leave, and really was able to take that and run with it and do some really great things in our community, and so continue to do this as long as I can.
I see Home Instead advertising throughout the entire city, right? So congratulations. But for those people who may not know or be familiar with Home Instead, what is it that you guys do?
Gosh, the shorter list is what we don't do. It's really, our services are providing an opportunity for families to keep their loved ones at home for as long as possible. So it could be something as simple as meal preparation, doing laundry, housekeeping, helping people with dressing and bathing. Yeah. And in all of that, they can thrive in their own home because they've got that support. And once they get beyond that level, then we help them find what that next level is for them, because we're familiar with all the other providers, and we're a pretty tight-knit group. We all work well together, so it's really a great service for the entire community.
So home health care has taken on a lot of popularity over the last couple of years. Are you starting to see a big demand for it?
Huge. We can't keep up at all. So if you're looking for a job as a caregiver, we could use you. Give us a call.
Yeah.
It's insane. We get dozens of calls every day for services, and it's so hard to be able to say no to people when you'd love to be able to help them. We just don't have enough caregivers.
So for those who are watching, they just heard job opportunity, right?
Yeah.
A couple things real quick. So what does it take to be a caregiver?
Well, you just have a compassionate and kind heart. If you enjoy making somebody else feel good and feel safe and secure, and you enjoy taking care of people, that's really all you need to come to us with. We have our own training program that includes everything from soft skills all the way up to hospice care. So everything you would need in your tool belt, we would be able to give you. So do they go to your website, or they call you? How do they get a hold of you? They can go to the website. They can also call us and have a conversation with anybody in our HR department, maybe really anybody on our team.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no. I was going to say, we're happy to talk to you. We answer our phones 24/7. So, come give us a call.
So if you're looking for a job right now, Mary Martinez with Home Instead, look them up on the internet. The website is what?
homeinstead.com/144.
144. Okay, that number is important. 144. So go out there and take a look, and maybe there may be an opportunity for you. So that's really awesome. You're empowering our community in a lot of different ways. It's interesting. When I think about home health care, growing up, as a Latino, I remember grandma lived with us, and we took care of grandma inside of our own home until she passed away, and I think that was kind of the thought process. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. That happened for both of my grandmothers. It was the agency was La Familia, so it was everybody took turns helping out, but that's not the way people live anymore. Everybody has just gone away from home, so those kids aren't here in order to take care of mom and dad. So that's who generally calls us are the kids.
Are the kids, and so they're at a point where they're saying, hey, we can't take care of mom and dad, and we need some help, right? How do you think that's impacting the Latino community because we're so family oriented and we almost feel a sense of guilt when we can't take care of our parents.
Well, and as a client, I'm not just the owner of my theater club for men, I'm also a client. I have 3 siblings, and my parents both have dementia and Alzheimer's, so they have 24-hour care at home.
Yeah.
What that does for us as the kids, the siblings, is when we go visit mom and dad, we get to actually visit with them. We're not doing the cooking and the cleaning and the bathing and the dressing, which is kind of an awkward thing to have to do for your parents anyway, but you have a trained professional doing that so that your relationship as their child gets to remain that, and your visits are quality time.
That's so important. This is a real issue facing our community in general. But my sister has since passed away, and she was really. I thought that maybe she would be the caretaker for my own mom. There's something about now. My mom has 2 sons, and this is my sister's now gone. It's kind of weird taking care. I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that type of work. I won't want to bathe my mother, and so that's where you guys come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes sense. It's interesting. You said earlier a moment ago that you've been doing this, or you had this passion since you were a young lady.
As a little kid.
How did you find that? Because most people, it's a little bit different.
It is. I think it found me.
Yeah.
Even as a little kid growing up in the neighborhood, my parents were still in that same house. We had older neighbors, and I would get tapped. If somebody got locked out of their house, I was pretty small.
Sure.
They would put me through their bathroom window to go open the front door for them. And then after that, I was mowing the lawns, pulling the weeds, walking the dogs, dog sitting, cat sitting. I ended up decorating a Christmas tree for one of my neighbors, and it was my first paid gig. She paid me 25 cents to help her decorate the high branches on the tree because her kids wouldn't allow her to climb on anything to decorate, so that was my job. But they always found me. So I was like, just ask Mary. So, I should have had business cards by the time I was like 8.
I know that's right. So you've always been an entrepreneur of some kind, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's really remarkable. We're so proud of you, all the success that you've had, because I want to say you're one of the largest, if not the largest, home health care agency in New Mexico.
Yes.
Wow. So, let's talk a little bit about business then. You started the business, you said, in 2000?
That's when I started working there. It opened actually in 96 with the original owner.
So you opened in 96. You started working in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
When did you become the owner or CEO?
Well, it took the original owner a while to convince me. I'd been there about 6 months. Mm-hmm. And he approached me and said, I want to retire and I want you to buy my business. Wow. I was like, no. I've only been here 6 months. I have 2 babies. I don't think so. I can't do that. And it took him about a year to convince me, and he finally said, you'd have more freedom as an owner than you would as an employee. And he said, if you do things right, you'll have more time for your kids. So why don't you look at it that way? And that was the magic button that he pushed with me. So I bit the bullet and did it.
So business ownership was not on the horizon. Like you said, you kind of fell right into it, or it actually pursued you, it sounds.
Yeah.
So do you remember, let's go back to that day where you're contemplating and you're thinking about, should I do this or should I do that? What kind of fears did you face when you were thinking about opening this business or taking over?
Well, it's a 24/7 business.
Yeah.
And so as an employee, I was a care manager. I did all the hiring, all the interviewing, all the training. I mean, I did everything for him. And he said, that's perfect. Now you know how to do everything. You hire people and train them to do that. And it gives you back some freedom. So there was all these little seeds he kept planting. But I remember, doing the care management piece, being in the hospital at 8 o'clock at night for a client who didn't have any family, so that there was somebody to greet them after they had surgery. And so you just went wherever you were needed. And sometimes that would be showing up at somebody's house at 1 o'clock in the morning because they were really scared and their caregiver wasn't there. So I would jump in my car and go. And so, I didn't realize at that time that I wasn't going to need to wear all the hats once I was the owner. So it was actually very liberating.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of being a business owner, as a woman-owned business, congratulations, right? Shout out to all the women.
Oh, yeah.
And as a mom, you had a lot to juggle, huh?
Oh, yeah. It was great though, because I had that really cool flexibility. And then if, when the boys were little, at the time when I bought the company, I think David was 6 months old, or when I was invited to buy the company, David was 6 months old and Ben wasn't even 3. So they were little guys.
So how did you balance all of that?
Well, they got to go on field trips with mom fairly often, and they would go with me to visit clients. That we had actually one client in particular I can remember. She had Alzheimer's, and she had been a pediatric nurse. And whenever the weather would get really bad, overcast, thundering, her Alzheimer's would just get a whole lot worse. So I would take the boys to her house, and we'd sit on the floor, and I would tell her, I need you to help me with the babies. And she would just totally switch gears and be calm and just be totally focused on them. And so you kind of learned all these really neat little tricks, but it helped my boys understand the aging process too. So it was a good way to educate them, as well as, create experiences for the clients too. They always looked forward to when I would have my boys with me for some reason, we'd have to stop by.
So when you were starting your business and really taking over, for those people who are watching, considering opening a business, looking back, what are some of the things that you wish you would have done different?
Well, I probably should have said yes sooner. That would be one of them. I think I might have expanded our territory. I might have expanded our services, which we've done now. But I think too, at that time, I really needed to learn before I expanded. But knowing that was an option, and then being able to do it later, I don't know if there's ever a right or wrong time to do that. But just know that you're never just stuck right here.
Yeah. That's super powerful. So what I'm hearing you saying is that as a business owner or someone who's thinking about going into business, you don't have to feel like this is your only path, that you have a lot more opportunities to pursue. Right?
Oh, yeah, there's so many things that dovetail with what we do.
Right.
And the cool thing about the team that I have is they all have expertise in some area. And, loaning them out a lot is really kind of cool. And they love being able to educate and support other organizations as well. So we've just kind of expanded that way too, is just reaching out to other organizations and lending them our expertise.
So now that you're involved in the community and you're truly a community leader. I mean, you led this organization. For those who don't know, Mary is our past chairwoman of the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. So she was head of the board, and that comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility and dedication and service for at least 12 months, right?
At least.
Yeah, at least 12 months. And, you certainly, when did you get involved with the chamber?
I was trying to remember or figure that out this morning, and we go way back as members.
Yeah.
And we were members for a long time, and it was very peripheral, and here and there my marketing people would say, hey, there's an event for the chamber, let's go. And I would go to that, and I would meet some people, and that was really kind of it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could be doing more with this.
Right.
And so we got more involved, and I was on the wellness committee back then. And then Alex was the president then, and so he invited me to be on the board.
Yeah.
So once I was on there, I was like, oh my God, the chamber does so much. I had no idea. So once I knew that, it was like, oh, there's kind of fun stuff here that I could support and get involved in.
I agree. I think, and once most people look underneath the hood of the chamber, they're going to be blown away of all the services, resources that we have, and how we really support our small businesses. Mm-hmm. And you really opened up the door for a lot of women to be on our board. I mean, you were there, and you raised your hand saying, I want to serve, and so let's talk about, like, for those people who are saying, what, I want to start giving back to the community. I want to be on this board. What would you suggest to them on how to get involved and how to be invited to this board?
Oh, well, we have a lot of great committees, and if there's anything that's interesting to you, reach out to the chamber and just say, where do I fit? Where can I support you? And then they can guide you as to which committee you might want to be on. And if you're really liking that, then just put your name in the hat and say, what, I'd like to be on your board. I want to be more involved.
Yeah. I think a lot of times most people don't know what our board does. And so we have a big board. We have
a very big board.
Yeah, we have nearly 40 members, and I want to say there's 36 voting members, and so we have a pretty big board of directors, and it's a real honor to be on this board. The connections are amazing, but the heart of service. And so, for those folks who are, why don't you talk a little bit about your board service? What in terms of now you own Homestead and you're promoting your business, but then when you join this board and you serve in this chamber, it takes on a whole new dynamic. It's almost like you're working outside of your business to some degree.
It can become kind of like a second job, or in this case too, a second family, because you just you see the dedication that this team has, and you just want to jump in and help them. And as you get to know them, you appreciate them so much more for all that they do. No one here wears one hat.
That's right.
They all wear several, and Paco wears wigs. So.
For y'all, check out Paco's latest post, right? His last video. So.
Tomorrow.
It's gonna be on tomorrow, okay? So our chamber staff is remarkable, aren't they? So let's dive in a little bit into why should someone be a part of this chamber? I think sometimes I know for a long time I paid my dues and I didn't get involved.
Yeah, that was me.
Was it? Yeah. And you and I were talking about this yesterday, and that conversation was, you get in what you put out.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you?
Well, if they know who you are, that's part. Become a presence with the chamber. Let them know who you are, what your expertise is, and what you want to do, and they will find ways to involve you, and you will enjoy it. It's been fun. I've gotten to participate in so many fun things. Some of them are very last minute, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Seat of your pants things, but that's the way the chamber moves. Is they're responding to things immediately.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you have to have a sense of adventure.
You really do. That's a great way to put it. Having a sense of adventure and So what has the chamber done for your business?
It's funny because I get calls from staff members. I get calls from other chamber members, just asking logistic questions, and I appreciate that we get those calls. I am more than happy to send people in the right direction and help them figure things out. So they've created, they've made us a resource for all of everything aging. And if we don't have the answer, we'll get it for you. So it's really nice to be a resource for the chamber.
So you were able to come into this chamber and also fill a need that the community desperately needed.
Yeah.
There's a book that I read called Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know if you ever heard of this book.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a great book. And for those who haven't read this book, basically the book talks about how to create blue oceans. And blue ocean is developing a niche that currently doesn't exist, that nobody's doing it. And it sounds to me that you really established this blue ocean here in the chamber. Did that happen organically or did that happen intentionally?
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
As soon as, because I talk about Homestead and people are like, oh, file that away in the back of my mind in case I have a question later, and then they might tell somebody else about it.
Right.
So it's like second, third party, referrals. And we love being a resource. We love being able to share our knowledge and, of our community, because that's a tough road to traverse when you don't really know what you're looking for.
Right. I think a lot of times when business owners are launching their business or, they're 4 or 5 years in, they hit roadblocks, major roadblocks, and those become depressing sometimes. They become a sense of anxiety or a deep sense of fear because they don't know how to get past them. Do you remember some of the significant roadblocks that you faced that you had to overcome when you were launching and growing your business?
Well, just in the last couple of years, we have a contract with the VA, so we have a lot of VA clients. And we have to do different care for them, different record keeping for them, different staffing for them. So just biting off that contract piece was a little bit scary. But again, I have great educated professionals on my team, and I don't really have to do anything other than say let's do this, because they will take it and run with it and make sure it happens.
Now, can I pause you right there? You're creating a new dialogue here, and it has to deal with developing a team and infrastructure. I think as a business owner, we feel that we have to do everything ourselves, and that's not necessarily true.
No, if I did that, I'd die.
So that's so I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were sharing their business concerns with me, and I said, the problem is you don't have infrastructure. There's no one for you to pivot to, and they said, well, I can't afford anybody. That I can't afford to hire someone, so right now I have to do it all, or I can't find talented help to really, come in and help. How did you address those situations?
I think it has to do more with trust. You have to trust other people.
Yeah.
You know, I've brought, I mean, my team, I think they've all been with me for years. I have no newbies on my team. Is because if, you know, something needs to happen, you know, and I'm talking about it, I get volunteers, I get voluntold
Yeah.
that it's already been handled, or somebody will say, oh, I wanna do that, or I'm interested in doing that, or, you know, can I work with so-and-so to make that happen? So I stay out of their way. They know what they're doing, so let them work together and make things happen, and I'll be over here doing all the boring paperwork.
Morning, how's the money gonna come in, right? Make sure we can pay all these bills, but I'm sure you guys are doing great.
You know, manage the budgets, and you guys make things happen, so.
So as a CEO, you have a lot of employees. How many employees do you have now?
Like 112.
You have 112 employees, and you have thousands of clients, probably hundreds of thousands. Or
No, let's see, our clients right now I think we're about 165.
oh, it's on 65. Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. So there's almost an employee for almost every client.
Pretty much, it's almost a 1-to-1. Would love to have a better ratio. So again, call me if you're looking for a job.
So you have all these employees, and I'm sure you have a lot of demands. How do you manage 112 employees?
Now, I'll go back to my team.
It goes back to team. Huh?
It really does. We have an HR department, we have a staffing department, we have an administrative department. Anytime a caregiver has a question, we make sure somebody's on it and answers it immediately. Sometimes we might know what that question is before they even ask it, so we're already ready for it. But we're going to have challenges when, you know, you've got a caregiver who's been with the same client for years, and that client starts to decline. And it becomes emotionally very hard for that caregiver. So we always red flag those guys and make sure that we're staying in touch with them and that they're doing okay.
So as you're growing, you know, most business owners struggle with maybe capital, right? They have to figure out, like, how do I get capital to invest or to expand? Did you have to worry about, you know, acquiring capital, or was it just as your clients grew, the profit was already baked into the strategy? How did that work for you?
It was kind of a little bit of both. I was that typical Hispanic woman, and I didn't go to the bank. I went to, you know, the Bank of La Familia.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was 401ks, the in-laws. I mean, it was everybody threw in for me to get this down payment. And we grew enough in the first year for me to make everybody's payments. I paid everybody off in the first year. Because I knew I needed to grow in order to meet my, you know, pay off my debt. But then after that, I started to get more conversations going with the banks, because I didn't realize that I could get capital through a bank. I just never went there in my head. And I guess it's when you have that family history that's what the family does. That's what you do too. So sort of broke that mold when I did start reaching out and getting SBA loans as I was buying the building or doing, you know, improvements and things like that.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I'll talk to you about is, you know, in terms of capital, I think that most people are fearful because they're wondering, like, how they're going to pay this back. But, you know, I was sharing with folks that I speak with and work with in terms of business, and I tell them, you know, if you have a really great idea and you have really great infrastructure, you're going to make the money. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to be able to pay this capital back.
Yeah. I mean, it was a motivator for sure.
Debt
is very motivating.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's turn the conversation to COVID, right? You know, we talked about how we reset, recover, and rebound. How did COVID impact your business?
Oh, gosh, the fear in the beginning was huge. So to dissuade that fear, we were reaching out to caregivers and clients in writing on a regular basis, assuring them that we were taking all the protocols. We bought so much PPE in the beginning just to have it on hand for the caregivers, so that we knew they felt comfortable being in their clients' homes, that the clients felt comfortable with the caregiver being there. Again, not knowing all the moving parts early on, we were just trying to minimize the fear. And, you know, with all that education and support that we had to the families and the caregivers, we had, I think, 2 clients that ended up with COVID, but it was while they were in the hospital, so not on our watch. So we did very well. Just, I believe the education piece and the PPE really kind of calmed people down.
You know, early on, nursing homes specifically were impacted by COVID, especially in the northeast part of the country. Mm-hmm. Did that impact your business? The outbreak within nursing home facilities, even though you guys are home health care,
right?
Did it impact you?
How it impacted us is that people who were thinking about helping mom and dad move into facilities, or those folks themselves thinking about moving into assisted living or nursing homes were hesitant. They were afraid. So they're like, until this passes, I'm gonna just have care in my home.
Yeah.
So it ended up being an influx for our industry because everybody wants to be home where it's safe.
Mm.
So we ended up, again, not being able to keep up. There's just such a huge demand because people are like, I want to stay home until I move.
Right, yeah, so how did your employees feel about going into homes? Because, we're concerned about our clients, what the client's concerned about COVID, but also with 112 employees, I would imagine they were a little concerned too.
Yeah, they were, and I think we had some people kind of dial back a little bit
Sure.
out of their fear. So, again, just reassuring them, we are doing everything we can, and if you follow the protocols, you'll be okay.
Right.
There's ways to keep yourself safe. There's ways to keep your clients safe as long as you're following this. Or if you have any questions at all, just call us and we'll walk you through it. So, where we have these locked-in relationships, the same caregiver, the same client for years, they didn't want to part ways.
Sure.
So they're like, how do you keep us together? How do we make sure this stays the way it needs to be? It's like, all we're gonna do is add a layer of protocols, that's it. Otherwise, you guys get to continue doing what you're doing.
Oh, that so worked out really
Yeah.
well. So what changes or what did you learn during this whole, now that we've been in COVID a year and we're hopefully moving into like some sense of normalcy now?
Start opening up a little bit.
Yeah, did you learn anything that maybe you may make some changes long term, or did you find new opportunities through this whole process?
We did learn, and this is kind of interesting because it's been going this way, but that electronic check-ins are really going to be they were trending up anyway for doctors and nurse visits and things like that because they have to be able to have eyes on. But we were realizing that families really appreciated being able to see mom. So even if the caregiver was using a cell phone and letting them have a virtual call, those connections were extremely important. So we have a device that's called a GrandPad. It's basically a tricked out iPad that it's very, very simple to use, and the family has little buttons on it that have their kids' names. So my mom, if she's got dementia, so she doesn't always remember, she could hit the button that says Mary, and it'll do a FaceTime call to me.
Oh, wow.
And so those were the connections that we were able to build for people because, that in-person thing was missing. It was missing, and it was really having an impact. So if we could have them hear voices or see faces, there's your daughter, she's doing good, and she wants to see that you're doing okay. So we were creative that way, and then we had half our staff working from home.
Wow.
And I realized how connected they are to each other because the ones that were home were really kind of missing being in the office.
Sure.
So as soon as we were able to do that, everybody wanted to come back.
Well, that sounds like a sign of a great CEO because it has to do with culture within your organization. So congratulations to you when people want to come, like, I miss my family at work.
There's people that pick on me all day.
Well, that is pretty amazing. You're truly an entrepreneur. I know we spoke, it's been a year or two ago that you're in the process of, we're switching gears now, in terms of something, you built a building where you house related services, right? Because home health care is a domino effect from what I understand. It's a chain reaction. You need certain other professionals as you're considering moving into home health care or some type of, what we call extended care planning. And so talk to us about that. You created a building where you house different professionals and tell us a little bit about that.
I built the Isabel Gallegos Aging Resource Center, and that is named after my grandmother. And she's pretty much, both my grandmothers were the inspiration for what I do. And she was kind of mother to everybody in her neighborhood and took care of everybody. I mean, she thought you needed something, she was going to get it for you. So I felt like that was good to honor her. And what I wanted in the building, and COVID really hindered my movement.
Sure,
So
I understand.
everybody slammed on their brakes, and two of my tenants decided to use last year to retire.
Right.
So I had a doctor in there, and a counselor, guardian, placement agency in there. Because I have 6 suites altogether, but the doctor and the counselor both retired. So back to having 4 available suites, and I wanted them to be, complimentary services, so that instead of driving all over town with mom, you go to one building, and you can see the financial planner, you can see the attorney, and the placement agency all under one roof. And it's one stop, and I built it to be very homey, so when you walk in, it looks like somebody's house.
Yeah.
And very
like
inviting.
a living room almost, right? Yeah, super cool. So do you currently have spaces available for?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What do I have now? I have 4, I think, I have 4 now.
4 suites available. All right, so we're going to do a timeout. If you're in business that surrounds some form of home health care agency, like financial planning, if you have to be a financial advisor, clients come in and talk about long-term care planning and retirement planning, how that impacts you, or perhaps if you're a medical facility and it's part of the aging process, correct, or counseling, reach out to Mary, take a look at her suites, because I'm sure it's not only just a central location, but ideally they possibly can pick up new clients as people flow through that. Is that correct?
They would be, we would be able to refer back and forth between them and home instead too. It was hopefully just kind of creating almost like a little village, to help people age in place.
Oh, that's beautiful. So if you're a professional out there who serves this community, you may want to consider renting some space from Mary and take a look at that model, because it's pretty powerful. I know when you introduced it to me, I was super impressed.
Yeah, so, I'm, now that, again, everything's opening up a little bit, I'm reaching out to folks and hopefully get some more people in there. One of the tenants is having an open house, I think Thursday. So she's gonna have some professionals there, and I'm gonna make sure I'm there.
You know what, so this was not part of our questions, but I do want to talk about this in terms of the issues facing our community in terms of increasing costs in home health care. And when we talk to folks in the community about extended care planning, the cost can be significant. It's very significant. So let me ask you a question. How do people deal with the cost of care when they're sitting there like they don't have two nickels to rub together?
Right.
How does that work?
We do have some people, and you're familiar with this, but some people that have long-term care insurance.
Sure.
So if you plan ahead for that and you have that, that's really great. Other people do things like a reverse mortgage, or the kids all pitch in. So there's all these ways that you can help. Otherwise, they might just have set a few hours that they know for sure that they need, and then the kids pitch in and do shifts as well.
Man, that's powerful. So have you seen costs go up significantly over the past years? So when you first started, in 2000, what was the cost and what is it today?
God, when I first started, I think we were charging something like, was it $14 an hour?
$14 an hour.
And now everybody's right around $22 an hour.
Wow. So you've seen it grow up.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
It has, and being fair to the boots on the ground, our caregivers, they deserve an income from it. They deserve a fair wage. And now we have that mandate with the county and the city looking at that and pay time off.
Right.
So those are all these extra layers that are added to my expense, plus all of the different insurances that I have to have too.
Wow.
So I try to keep it as low as I can for as long as I can.
Yeah, but there's only a point where it's like, this is the cost.
Yeah, our numbers are switching places.
So for those folks who are concerned about home health care or they have parents, what should they budget? In terms of what can they expect to pay per month?
There's not a cookie cutter answer for that, because everybody's client needs are different.
Yeah.
So you might have mom or dad that, only need help a couple times a week, or something catastrophic happened and now they need somebody 7 days a week. So it's really hard to say what to budget for. Is there an eventuality that mom might move to an assisted living?
Right.
Mom might end up in a nursing home based on health status. So anything that somebody has that's a long-term illness is going to affect that decision as to how far and how long they can be at home.
Wow. That's got to be, when people are faced with those issues, it really takes some wisdom to plan through that, because they got to make the right decisions. Yeah. So let's turn the conversation to Mary Martinez, right? Let's talk a little bit about Mary. So you got your kiddos, you have 3 kids?
2 boys and a girl.
2 boys, and your little one is what?
She's 9.
9 years old.
Yeah. She was a lovely surprise 9 years ago. I was told I couldn't have any more children, and then hello.
Here I come, surprise.
And you know how your mom always tells you when you grow up, I hope you have a kid just like you.
Yeah.
I didn't. I dodged that bullet with my 2 sons.
Yeah.
And then here comes this little girl, and holy cow. She's totally my mini-me.
Yeah,
so.
she's mini Mary, huh?
Yeah. It's a good thing, though.
That's a great thing. Beautiful little girl.
Thank you.
And so in terms of, your family, I think that work-life balance is always important, especially as an entrepreneur and a business owner. Especially now with a 9-year-old, because I have a 10-year-old myself, I get it, and I have a 13 myself. And so talk to me about work-life balance. How does that work in the Martinez house?
Well, I'm the only one who actually has to leave the house, which is always such a bummer when everybody's still asleep. I wake Izzy up and get her on her Zoom, her
Yeah.
classes, and she's logging in, and as I'm walking out the door, and it's hard knowing everybody's just going to be able to relax and have a good day. My son logs into UNM at some point,
Right.
whenever he drags out of bed. But that's my pull. Is my home is my heart. So. I get to work at 8:30. I have, again, this amazing team that I don't have to worry about anything. I could not be there at all and it would be fine, but I feel like I need to be there for them, support them, as little or as much as they let me. But I do. I make sure we all leave at 5 o'clock. I don't like anybody to stay there late because there's no reason. You can't get it done today, we'll figure out how to help you finish it tomorrow, but I want to give that example to everybody too, is that you don't have to kill yourself over your work, and rarely get calls on weekends. I have on-call staff that do the weekends, and unless something bubbles up to the top, I don't really hear about weekends until Monday. So, it's trusting the people around you and leading them by example too.
It sounds to me, as you talk to business owners, there's really like two camps. A business owner who works to serve the business, and then it sounds like you built the business to kind of serve you a little bit.
It did, and that it wasn't intentional, but it just, I think, who was drawn to come and join my team.
Yeah.
It just works.
So it's just about bringing that right team together. Huh?
Yeah.
In terms of development, right? Because we always got to stay sharp. Do you consider yourself an avid reader? Do you read books and go to classes and do different things?
We do. I mean, being part of a franchise network, we have a huge amount of education available to us through our corporate office, and they have a program called Empower, and you can pretty much pick any subject that you want to know more about, and you can be on a webinar and learn a lot in like 30 minutes.
Wow.
So pretty much everybody in the office, I have two that just probably have taken every class, but I know I'm in there and I take stuff that I feel like would help me, help me help them.
Yeah.
So I think I am constantly educating myself.
So what's the last book that you read?
Let's see. I just finished, and it's funny because I went up to Pandora a couple weekends ago, and I do a lot of books on tape when I'm driving.
Yeah, I get that.
So I was listening to Simon Sinek, and he's one of my favorites.
He is one of my favorites. I love Simon. So what book was it?
Leaders Eat Last.
That's one of the best books ever. Isn't that such a good book?
I really enjoy that because it reminds me where to put my energy and just stay focused, because you can easily get distracted by every little thing, but it's like stay focused and trust the people around you.
And that book was and it's such an easy read. It's an enjoyable read. Would you agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say was your biggest takeaway from it? Can you summarize? Because sometimes it's hard because there's so many great chapters, and he's such a brilliant author and teacher.
Gosh, the thing, and it's so funny because I don't even think this is his quote, but it was, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so it was funny, that made me want to go back and read some more of his book. So it might not even be his quote, but it was like, that reminds me of Simon Sinek. So.
Well, I love how he really talked about the military structure within, Leaders Eat Last, and how that goes. But, I just finished reading one of his books called The Infinite Game.
Okay, I haven't read that one.
Oh, it's a good book. You should consider reading it. I read that one last month. I wrapped that one up, but it's such a good book. It gives and believe it or not, that you really practice a lot of the things, I would say unknowingly, because you haven't read the book, according to what he says is what we call a just cause. He says that, the reason why businesses succeed and some businesses fail or some go on to do great things is because he actually is against goals when it comes to this, because goals are finite. When you reach them, then what? What do you do next? Where in the infinite games, he says, you know what? We need to play the game to win a just cause, and a cause that you can make an impact on, but nobody ever really wins, right?
Right.
And I love the example that he uses in that book. And he says, when at your funeral, does someone say, well, he won at life? He's like, no, he lived life.
Yeah.
Or she lived life. And it's like, how do you win? Like, do you win at your career? And like, well, I guess you could say I got a promotion, but outside of that, it's like, what impact are you really making within your career? So it's a really cool book.
Those are your wins. I like that. I'll have to read that.
Yeah, it's a great book. I just finished reading. Not that this is about me, but I really read this a cool book recently. It's called The Alchemist. it's a fictional book, but it really talks about really understanding, what he calls it in this book, your personal legend, and what that book talks about is understanding what your why is. And I know that Simon.
That's Coelho.
Yeah, it's Coelho. Yeah. Have you read that book?
Yes.
It's a good book. That's an easy read too.
Yeah, that's a nice one. That's a nice driving one too.
Isn't it? So, what kind of music do you listen to? What do you do? Yeah. What do you jam out to?
I'm so eclectic. I think I'm reincarnated because I listen to everything. I listen to Nina Simone, Edith Piaf, Chris Isaac, Chris Rea, Santana. I mean, just name it, I'm listening to it.
Well, other than Santana, me and Pop were like, who?
I was the only one I knew. I was like, what?
Look it up. You'll be addicted. I'm telling you. Look up Edith Piaf. Write that down. Not Pilaf like the rest.
Are they on Apple Music?
Oh, sorry, that was, well, that tickled
I
me.
seriously listen to everything.
Do you? And so you enjoy reading, what else do you enjoy? Do you celebrate the arts, or do you do any type of concerts, or,
I love music. I love live music. I'm looking forward to be able to go and do that again. I've enjoyed taking my kids to concerts, to some of the old guys, like the 80s.
That is the old guys today.
I love that, and watching the old classic movies with my kids and introducing them to those things. But like you say, the work-life balance.
Yeah.
When I'm home, I don't want to leave my house again.
Yeah.
And it's just my little sanctuary where I'm just me with my family, and we're just doing chill stuff and gardening, reading, decorating, whatever it is. I love being in my own home with my peeps around me.
So who is your favorite group ever? Like your musical group?
Oh, gosh, whose album did I beat up?
I'm going to judge you. I'm judging you.
Are you? Okay, I'm sorry.
Paco said he's judging right now, so let's keep it real. We're judging.
Okay, I'm going to think back to the albums that I used to beat to death when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's some of those people, you've probably heard of them, like Scorpions and
Oh, yeah.
Waterboy and Journey and, yeah, those guys. So that's what I used to listen to on vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
But AC/DC,
Come on now.
Iron Maiden,
Yeah.
I had some fun with that too.
Yeah, you did. You sound like a rocker to me. That's fun.
Yeah, I was the rocker chick back in the 80s.
I was a rocker chick. I can see the hair. Just...
Oh my God, it was so huge I'd have to bend my head down to get into my car.
Oh, man. Did you use Aquanet back in the day?
I did, and then we moved on to Vidal Sassoon.
Man, that's instant helmet right there, man. I'll tell you what.
I'm probably responsible for at least one hole in the ozone.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Mary, you're such an amazing leader, servant. So what are some of the big causes that you believe in? Like, what are some things that drive Mary right here at the heart level?
Who I really like to support her locally is Meals on Wheels and there's the senior programs that provide meals.
Yeah.
Silver Horizons is one of them. They do more than that. They also pay utilities. They make sure people have dog food for their dogs, and they deliver groceries to people. They have grocery days and work with a lot of the food banks. And so these are, those things are really important to me. And this goes back to, again, both my grandmothers, is I know there was some insecurity for them. And so just making sure that that's there for other people. I love being able to help with that. And both of them had heart issues. So the American Heart Association is really important to me. I've got problems with high blood pressure, so I'm like, I'm not going to be grandma, so I'm going to start taking care of myself.
Good for you.
So I'm on their committee for their gala in December.
And so you're doing so much great work. You're like a superhero, right? You're like a superhero, Mary Martinez. So who happens to be your favorite superhero?
Oh gosh, you guys are probably thinking of people like Superwoman and all that, Wonder Woman, but actually it's RBG.
RBG.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Come on now.
She's a barrier-breaking woman with some tenacity. She's impressive.
Yeah, man. Well, she did amazing work, and she opened up amazing opportunities for so many people.
She really did.
Those are the
She stood her ground. I love that about her.
She was fierce, wasn't she? Like dynamite.
All 4 feet of her.
All 4 feet of her.
One of the few people I'm taller than.
Yeah, so wow, that is awesome. Yeah, those are the real superheroes.
Yeah.
I get the Iron Man and Superwoman. I get that, but those are true superheroes.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite movie?
Go back to the classics. I really like Casablanca. I
Mm.
have to watch that at least once a year.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, it was, I grew up in Houston, so it often rains. It rains in Houston quite a bit. And I was really upset. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was supposed to go outside and play with my friends. I must have been 13, 14 years old. And my mom she liked the classics. And I was so frustrated because there was nothing to do in the house. I'm going crazy, stare crazy. And she says, son, come watch this movie with me. I'm like, no, that's kind of weird hanging out with my mom. But she introduced me to this movie called An Affair to Remember.
Yes, that's a good one too.
That's a good one. I remember I'm sitting there crying watching.
I kind of believe that.
I said, I'm going to propose to my wife on the Empire State Building too.
But make sure you connect your time.
Yeah, we had to connect the time. Oh my God, that was such a good movie. So that's one of my favorite classics of all times. That's such a good movie.
Yeah.
We need to get movies like that again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The other one that's a really good one is Rear Window.
I haven't seen that
That's
one.
a really good one. Look at that. You can write that one down too.
I haven't seen any of these.
He's gonna have to expand his musical library and his movies, right?
Yeah,
That's
that one,
it.
That one has Jimmy Stewart in it. It's really
Oh,
good.
Jimmy Stewart's a great actor. So let me ask you, as we start wrapping up here today, let's go back to the chamber because this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Serving the chamber, and for someone to say, you're right. I'm one of those I pay my dues and don't get involved. And what would you tell them? What advice would you tell them? Say, hey, you know what? This is why you should get involved. What would you say?
Well, even since I started, I don't even remember when Homestead became chamber members. I was very much on the peripheral and eventually figured out, like we were talking about yesterday, is you get out of it what you put into it. It's an opportunity that you can connect with other organizations similar to yours, people similar to you, same level of struggle, wherever your challenges are, whether that's a financial situation or hiring or training or whatever it is that you need, some answers to or support on, you're gonna find it here. And then you're gonna feel like, wow, I learned so much. Now I wanna be able to share that knowledge. So it does ripple out.
It's as you're talking now, I was thinking about how you and I began to work together. Not to say that you and I wouldn't have met outside of the chamber, but we run in different circles,
Right.
but the chamber actually brings people together. It allowed us to become friends and colleagues as we worked on a lot of community things. And one thing I love about getting involved in chamber is the connections.
Yeah.
The connections, and I really feel as a leader in the community and someone who serves, and the friendship that we built, that I can actually call on you if I need something.
Yeah.
And I have,
Yeah.
I'm calling you like, hey Mary, I need some help, Mary. And I think that's what the chamber's all about. It's such a great community. It's a tribe of like-minded people who believe in the common good. Believe in the common cause, a great cause. And so if you were to give any parting advice to anybody about business and how they can expand their business, and especially right now, maybe they're struggling a little bit and they're trying to figure out their way. And this is general advice to the entrepreneur as one chamber member to another. What would you tell them?
Wow. If you're interested in doing something, your heart's already there.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just learn the ropes. And don't forget, there's people who've done it before you, likely. If not, there's all kinds of people you can reach out to for advice. I would reach out to some of the veterans in whatever industry you're in. That'll save you some of the speed bumps that you might run into.
Yeah, would you be open if chamber members were to reach out to you and say,
Yeah.
hey, listen?
I love it when people call me and ask questions. I'm like, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Our population is aging, at a very very, very big rate. So the more people we have in my industry, the better. So if I can encourage somebody, whether it's my industry or another one, if you're interested in going into business for yourself, I would just say do it. It's very freeing at the same time. You're doing something you love and, contributing to your community.
Man, Mary, we're so excited to have you, and thank you so much. If you're, if you're a chamber member or you're thinking about joining a chamber, I'll encourage you to reach out to our membership team so they can talk to you about all the great benefits that we offer. And I'll tell you, Mary's 100% correct. You get in, you get out what you put in, and there's a sense of it's not just about paying your financial dues, but paying the dues of service, giving back, and making our community grow bigger and better and stronger. And that's what I encourage you to do. So our staff is on call. They're waiting to see how they can help you and bring you value. So I just want to promote that. Also take time to celebrate the work that you've done, Mary. What congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I truly mean this compliment. When I think about people who are true, I call my oaks, like they're mighty oaks. I think of you in our community.
Oh, thank you.
You're a mighty oak and you stand strong in what you've done for our community. And I don't know if you'll ever really see the impact that you've made because it's so great. I do believe that. So we thank you for having you come on board. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being a part of our board. And we appreciate you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's Mary Martinez, a true hero in our community. If you're saying, I'm inspired by her, and I want to reach out to her. We talked about other opportunities, perhaps a job offer at home instead, or perhaps you're looking for some new space to be part of a community of people who help throughout the aging process. Reach out to Mary. She'll love to talk to you. In addition, the Chamber is always here to serve you. We appreciate you. We look forward to you, and thank you for joining us in this as we promote PNM. PNM did a great thing for us here at the Chamber. They give to us, and so thanks to PNM. And so this is why we call it the PNM Podcast Hour. So we just want to say thank you. We'll see you next time. You crushed it.
Oh, good, that was kind of fun.
Bring it in. That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Everyone for joining
That
us
was
today
really
for
fun.
the Power Up by PNM
You just
Podcast
happened to
Hour
be sitting there,
in
so I could
partnership
pick
with
on
the
you.
Inspired
Yeah.
Chamber of Tonight. And again, big
That was
shout
fun.
out to our
But seriously,
sponsors,
watch
folks
the
at
movie
PNM
Rear Window.
who
You'll
help
like it.
keep your businesses
Rear window?
Rear Window.
Don't
Okay.
forget to join us
I know I have a
this
few
weekend
Grace
for
Kelly's
those
in it,
in the
too.
community that are
What's
bringing
that?
us forward.
I have a few
And
things
for
I
more
have to
information about the outlet,
You know what's funny is Izzy, when she was like 3 years old,
9003, or visit us
she's an old
online
soul.
for
I think
more
she's been here multiple
information
times.
at
But she was in the bathtub about, she was about 3 or 4 years old, and she was in the tub, and I was cleaning the bathroom, and she and I were talking. She goes, Mom, could you put some ESP off on for me, and then you can go in and go. I want to have some